Good morning, everyone. I haven't gone live for a couple of days, which I've needed a bit. I did the masterclass, which was amazing, and after that, I needed a little bit of R&R, and I also just the longer that I've kind of gone after the kambo experience, I've really felt more effects of it, and I've been able to kind of create a little bit more reflection and yeah, just sort of see specifically and read over a lot of the intentions that I set, and I wanted to see how well they've correlated and on the other side instead of just like an immediate thing. And I've had so many insights afterwards that it's kind of hard to cover all of them. I'll do my best with, I've taken some notes and that sort of thing, so I'll do my best to cover it, and as well as incorporating some of the questions that I've had. I've kind of answered that throughout this, I think. So I'm going to go through, so what kambo is it is a secretion from a frog in the Amazon. And basically how it came about was there was this shaman in a village, and the villages all got sick, and the typical methods that he was using to heal people weren't working. So he took the question to Mother Ayahuasca, and Mother basically taught him and showed him about these frogs and how to apply the secretions of the frog onto the people. And he did it, and he did try that, and it actually worked. It healed the village. And so what it is it's an epic detox. You don't do this for fun. It's not recreational in any way, but it is an absolutely amazing detox for your physical body as well as your energetic and emotional bodies as well. There's no hallucinogenic effects or anything like that. And yeah, the interesting thing is I don't know exactly how I expected to feel afterwards, but I felt like the same person. I just felt like I had up-leveled in a way, but not even like a massive leap. I'm like, okay, I almost, not that I felt the same, but I just appreciated myself where I am and how far I've come, but on a really neutral level, like just very, okay, cool. No, I'm here. This seems like a natural process for me. This seems like the next step. And I've done the process, and now I kind of feel like, okay, I've done that. It kind of was, it was very eventful, but then there was also this element of a non-event, like when you're living out something that you've already planned so many times, there's like, it lacks the surprise. You're like, okay, I kind of in a way expected this. I hope that makes sense. Okay, to prepare for this, so basically every different kambo practitioner or facilitator has a different set of preparations. So the person who I went through, there was no alcohol, drugs, caffeine, anything for 24 hours, at least 24 hours beforehand, and also afterwards. So that's really because afterwards the kambo is still working with you. It's still in your system. So it's best not to interfere that with any other substance or anything like that will alter your chemistry too much. And that goes for like sugars and clean eating as well. Like that just facilitates the detox even further. And then 10 hours before the actual ceremony, there's no food at all and no liquid besides water. So water is the only thing that you're really supposed to have beforehand. Now, going into this, I knew that it would not be physically comfortable. However, I really kind of approached this as I approached labor. And for those of you who know me, I've had 4 children naturally. So 4 pregnancies, 4 children, very grateful for that. No painkillers. I tried a little bit of gas with my first child, and I started throwing up. It just didn't go well, so I decided to do no painkillers at all. And I actually loved labor because I felt like that was something that I could really connect to my body in. I'm so much in my head that I do sometimes feel like I struggle to connect with my body. So this was something that sort of I approached as I would labor, which was awesome because I knew that it would be super uncomfortable. I knew that I'd be in a position of vulnerability too, with the throwing up and that sort of thing. Yes, kambo makes you throw up. But I also knew that it was something that I wanted to do to expand my comfort zone. And it's also, hey, you gorgeous. It's good to see you, Ro. So I knew that it would be super uncomfortable, but I really wanted to do it. It's like the first step on my plant medicine journey. So I knew that it was just the first thing to do. Okay, well, if I want to get onto the other stuff, then I need to start here. Yeah, I did kambo. It's crazy. Frog poison. So what I started off doing when I got there, so I went completely on my own. I had not met anyone. I hadn't met the facilitator or anything. And I went in, I'm not going to say exactly where, but it was just beautiful. There were like mountains. It was in this valley. There were like cliffs around. Thank you, beautiful. There were these cliffs around, and then as you sort of drive down the road, it opens up into this valley with this gorgeous teepee and this flat, and then there's this creek running in this natural rock behind the teepee. It was so beautiful, and I am kicking myself that I did not take more photos because, and I guess too, in another sense, I was so in the moment and so present that I wasn't even thinking about posting or anything like that. I really wanted to surrender as much as I could to the whole experience. So that's really what I did. And I guess in a way I'm really proud of myself for not just going, okay, like take photos, think about the opportunity, like to share all of this beautiful, like the beauty of it all. I really wanted the experience for me. So that's what I surrendered to, which I was really grateful for. So when I got there, I got saged down by this gorgeous man who, you know, had his sage bowl ready, and just, I instantly felt like I was amongst people who understood me, even though they had only just met me, because we're in such a similar place, a lot of similar values, I guess, you know, with regards to turning to nature for healing and just surrendering to, you know, a process of discomfort, but also of personal discovery. So that felt really cool, like to be amongst people, like it felt, you know, so welcoming. So when I got in there, I sat down, made myself comfy, and I ended up writing down some intentions that I wanted to have set. So you bring your own intentions along to your ceremony so that you know and you're specific about what it is that you want to clear. So some of mine were around releasing resentments, opening blocks, connecting deeper to my physical body, and integrating it closer in with my intuition. I wanted a shift in the way that I've been relating to my children, and that was with regards to releasing resentment. And this is interesting because I've got 4 children. 2 of them are 17 and 15, and the way that I'm relating to them has completely changed, because they're at a different stage in their lives and they need me at a very different capacity to how they've needed me in the past. And in a way there was some resentment there, like, come on, like, don't they know how much I've done for them? But in another sense, it's like, wow, I've really got to humble myself into this position so that, you know, as a mom, you're not always going to be the center of their world, which is actually really important. And yeah, so kind of coming into that, and also the chores. You know, any mums out there, you know, it's kind of hard to get your kids to do the chores the way that you want them done. And I guess, you know, I need to really let go of that and understand that these guys are their own selves, even though I still have an expectation there for things to be done really well. So that's a little bit of backstory. So I had a lot of letting go of to do around my children and expectations and, my view of perception of perfection there, which is an interesting journey. I also wanted, a lot more clarity around business and ease and flow, whilst marrying that with discipline, which I know that might sound a bit counterintuitive. And also releasing old energy from past lovers. Like, I knew that this was a physical detox, but I also wanted to, on that energetic level, just release any past ties that I'd had, that I'm not conscious of, because I've done a lot of work here, in releasing past ties. And it's one thing to sort of release it on a conscious level, but in case I've missed anything, I just sort of wanted to sort of say, okay, if there is anything else there underlying, that's my intention too, is to let go of any of that graciously and gratefully. And the other thing that I really wanted was to reconnect with myself and to really start to integrate my mind and body a lot more, and to become a lot more one with my body. So those are some of the intentions that I had set. So when we got there and it was all time and everyone had set up, there were actually, most of the people who were there had already done it before. There was only one other person there who hadn't, besides me. And so it's kind of nice to know that there are people who kind of keep, like, they go back to it. It's like something that they found that they really benefit from. So we talked, so basically we got in there, we set our mats up, our pillows, our blankets, like comfy nest. We talked through the process. So, and she really explained it beautifully and was very loving and calm and all of that. So the process went a little something like this. We were all in the teepee. We were all set up around like a focal point, which was a fire, which wasn't on because it was already quite a warm day. But it was just nice to sort of be able to be in that energy space with everyone. So the kambo ceremony consists of 3 different plant medicines. The first one is called Sanenga. The first one is called Sanenga. Sorry, the laptop just timed out a little. And what Sanenga is a tree sap. And it gets dropped into your eyes, and there are lots of different varieties, so they have different effects. And these all come from a particular tribe in the Amazon. So this Sanenga, it was really stingy. So they dropped it into your eyes, and you can't help but just close your eyes. It was really unpleasant. However, what it does is to help clear your vision. And if you're looking at it too on a metaphysical place, it's also to just open you up to receiving information, to seeing things, like not seeing as in insights, not necessarily hallucinating. So just remember, there's no hallucinations whatsoever with this. You don't do this for fun. So the Sanenga was the tree sap dropped in the 2 eyes, and that hurt like a mofo. But you kind of just breathe through it. So like I said before, I approached it as I approached labor, which would be this physical, uncomfortable thing, which at the end would then birth something beautiful. So the Sanenga went in, and then after it kind of processes, it calms. So it stings for like maybe 15, I'd say 30 seconds. For me, it was 30 seconds, but then I have, is it called short-sighted? I can see close, but distance kind of, it's a bit harder for my eyes. I need glasses when I drive and that sort of thing. And yeah, so I didn't notice too much of a change. But that's, I kind of I went with it. And then after that, and your eyes have processed that, then you drink 2 liters of water in 15 minutes. And really what this is, so you've got an empty stomach. This is really uncomfortable. So like drinking that amount of water in such a short amount of time, I felt full. I almost felt like I would throw up just from drinking that much water in that amount of time. But basically that water really helps to facilitate the detox, like getting rid of stuff. It kind of creates a vessel for all of the toxins to travel through. So after the water, directly after the water, they put the burns on your skin. So these are actually burns. They're not tattoos or anything like that. And so they light a little incense stick and they just burn through the first layer of skin. So it doesn't draw blood or anything like that. It's really just to take off the top layer of skin, so that the frog poison can get into the system. So she did 4 for me. When it's your first time, you have 4 or 5. I think I probably should have done 5, but I was a bit nervous, so I was grateful that she did the 4 on me. I decided to get it here. You can choose where you get it. So the reason why I did it here is because this is actually the heart meridian line, and I just wanted it along the heart because I also I've wanted to connect more with my heart and kind of be led a little bit more by my heart instead of in my head, which is very typical for me. So I got the 4 along the heart line. And then what they do when it's your first time is they start off with only 1 dot. They put the poison on the 1 dot, so the frog secretion on the 1 dot. And then they see how you respond. So she put it on that first dot and I just sat there and allowed, I completely surrendered to this, which you have to, like, I can't imagine trying to resist any part of this because it's already so uncomfortable, which is kind of like a, parable to life. Resisting any part of life really makes it so much more uncomfortable. So after that, I felt like it's almost like it set your body on fire. It wasn't an uncomfortable feeling, actually. Like, it was just really, really warm. And then I felt the blood in my face and in my ears. And my ears sort of started pulsing and thumping. And I just felt hot. But that was it. And then, a minute or 2 later, that was kind of gone. Or maybe it was a little bit more, but it didn't last for very long. And then I got really cold. And what that's from is from the different peptides in the frog poison just reacting with your own chemistry, right? Now, because I responded well to that, she put the rest of them on. And I really appreciated that they kind of said, stay upright, keep your back straight, because if you lean over too much or if you put your head down too much, what you do is your face actually starts getting really puffy, and they call it frog face. And plus, I also do think when you're doing energetic work, trying to stay upright and keeping your chakras all in line, I think that just actually accentuates a lot more and facilitates more of the energy being moved and shifted, and particularly on a detox, like, I found that really beneficial, and I actually felt a lot more connected by doing that. So I remained upright. I kind of just had a bucket in front of me, and I was surprised by how graceful I was through it. Honestly, I wasn't trying to look good. I was really open to looking not good during this, and I'm not going to say that I looked good, but I just noticed that there was this element of gracefulness that I noticed about myself in it, which surprised me. So every time someone sort of does a really big heave, they say "Viva," and you celebrate it because it's a releasing of the old. And it's interesting because people are like, so what, you just go to a teepee and throw up around a whole lot of people? Well, yeah, you could look at it like that if you wanted to, but in actual fact, what it is all these people on their own personal journey supporting each other too, and just being there like, hey, yeah, like this, it's not comfortable, but at least it's a decision that we're making. We're all in it together. We'll celebrate your wins. So it's such a personal journey for everyone, but also having that community is beautiful. Like, it is beautiful. You think about a woman who is laboring, and, just having people there going, you've got this, you can do this, we believe in you. Like, that is beautiful, even though she's the one going through it. So I really likened a lot of this to like a labor experience because it was such a physical experience for me. It wasn't so much of a spiritual experience though. But I did feel my energy shifting, and yeah, for me physically I felt great afterwards. So yeah. So after the 4 went on, so I had all 4 on. They kept it on for a while, and I started to throw up. And I didn't hold back whatsoever. Like the moment I felt it, I allowed, surrendered, and it really was only about 10 minutes, maybe even 5 minutes of throwing up. Like it wasn't like this severe, it wasn't even the focal point, but it's probably what freaked me out the most. Like, well, what I was most nervous about. And then, so once that was done, you kind of give her a bit of a nod, and she comes and she takes it off. And then I just sat with it for a while. And then the third plant medicine is called rape, or harpe, I think. And what it is it's like a powdered tobacco, but it's not the tobacco that you smoke in a cigarette or anything like that. It's a bit different. And so what it is it's delivered. It's actually blown up your nose, so through it's like a bamboo pipe, or straw that's bent. So I found this beautiful. I was so nervous. I was so nervous about this too because, I don't smoke. I don't necessarily like the smell of tobacco. But it didn't actually smell like tobacco at all. If anything, it was more like cinnamon. So this was probably the most painful and uncomfortable part of the whole thing, I would say. Because once it goes in one nostril, you have to do it in the other, and it kind of almost hits you in the back of the head. So they start tapping on the back of your head as soon as you've had one, and it is highly unpleasant to have this stuff in your nose. But I also felt like a massive shift in energy. Like the moment she did the second side particularly, I honestly felt like my spirit or esoteric world was really just being pulled back down to ground, and like everything that was on the ether on the outside of me was just pulled back into myself. So I found this so grounding. And then when she was done and finished the tapping, I noticed like my head sort of swell, not swell, but it became really light. It was a very euphoric feeling, almost to the point it was actually not discomforting. It was a euphoric feeling, but the euphoria had an element of discomfort to it. It was quite a pleasurable feeling or sense in my mind, in my head, but not in my physical head. I don't even know if that makes sense. So my consciousness felt a euphoria around it. It was very pleasurable, so intensely pleasurable that it was almost uncomfortable. I'm not sure how else to describe it beyond that, but I allowed it. I just sort of surrendered and allowed it and breathed. I was just breathing like the whole time, just conscious, deep breaths, like just really surrendering to everything like I did through my labors. And then I found myself throwing up again, and this time I threw up more. And so you actually look at the color of your throw up and you kind of see, because it tells you different things. So before the water, it was just basically water. There was a little bit of yellow bile, which kind of signifies the physical detox. Whereas after the rape, my throw up was darker, and that actually was not because of the rape, because the rape it stays in your nose, and it really comes out of your nose or out of your phlegm, as it kind of travels down the back of your neck, but it doesn't really mix with the water, right? So it was like this gray kind of a color water, and that was really weird. I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. But I've since learnt that that's actually detoxing of your emotions, like old stored emotions and energy, So that, or like emotional trauma, I think she said too. So that to me, I was like super stoked to hear that side of it, because I knew that there would be some there. So I was actually really stoked about that. And again, I just like allowed it. I wasn't expecting to throw up from the rape, but I just surrendered to it. And then after, you know, this head spinning and the euphoria kind of left as I was throwing up, which I was okay with. I just, like I said, I just surrendered to it all. And then I just laid back and just calmed myself. Like my physical body was feeling fine. And so this whole thing kind of lasted maybe half an hour, might not have even fully been half an hour, or maybe 45 minutes. So, you know, so as I laid back and sort of got comfortable, I was closing my eyes, and then, you know how when you close your eyes and you kind of still see little bits of light, like you can tell that it's light outside. Well, all of those sort of started to come together and formed a frog eye. And I kind of just really, you know, sent my gratitude and appreciation to the kambo frog spirit, and, you know, for the experience, and to the frog that, you know, provided the secretion, and to the tobacco spirit with the rape, and to the tree spirit for the senenga. So it was beautiful. And then the frog sort of dissipated and turned into more of a human eye. And then I kind of related that to my higher self, and I just said, thank you for guiding me here, and thank you, me, my own physical self, for bringing me here, and just really sat in this deep sense of gratitude for the whole thing. And then at the end, we sort of talked about it. We, you know, she talked through what our throw up meant. And then I went and found a tree and placed it under the tree, and I went down to the creek, and I just, it was so beautiful. It was cold, which was an incredible contrast to the fire and heat of the kambo. So I just sat in there, and it was so beautiful. Like this rock had been worn away and was smooth, like from the river, and just sitting in it peacefully just was beautiful. So I spent a little time on my own, and then I came back to everyone else, and there was lunch ready, and it was like a beautiful soup. We just sat around and chatted for a little bit, and then we all went home. So afterwards, I was actually really tired. And I know just for me, like sometimes energetic work takes a really good sleep to kind of kick in. So I got home, and I was so tired, but I wanted to stay awake until like a good time. So I think that was like 8 o'clock at night, and I crashed. I slept so well. The next day, I woke up really early. I got up and I just did some things. I spent the morning on my own. I didn't really feel that much different. But I knew that I didn't have a desire for any stimulants or anything like that. Or any other chemicals or sugar or anything. I just wanted clean food. And so I went on a big walk. I went and did some yoga, and I also had a bath. And, you know, I did some reading in the bath, and it just felt super luxurious. I'm like, this is interesting. I've heard that people get a heap of energy after this, but I just, again, surrendered to it. So after the bath, it was like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. And I got really sleepy again. So I decided to go to bed. I had to sleep for a couple of hours, and I woke up with so much energy, and I felt so much clearer. And there were a few things that I'd been meaning to get to for like weeks. And I'm like, I'm going to do that now. So I just did them. And I think one of the things was too, like I mentioned in one of my last videos, is like the virtue of taking the action. I feel like because I'd taken the action of that, it almost released a lot of resistance to taking action in other areas as well. So I really leaned into that and just was like, okay, cool. Like I'll just, you know, the whole idea of ease and flow was one of my intentions. And I have actually seen that. And I've actually been super forgiving of myself to just rest and allowing myself to rest without it meaning anything, without creating judgments around it. That's something that I've seen, which I've really, really appreciated. Um, and with reconnecting to myself, like there's a new level of trust there that I have in myself, which I've definitely felt it coming. And I think on some level, I've always had an element of trust for myself, but it's something that this is another level. Like I can feel that. Um, I also had I had an old book that's a classic book that came up, and I felt a pull and a desire to read, which is How to Win Friends and Influence People. And with reading that, that actually started to, I realized that a lot of that resentment that I had towards my kids and around chores, I know it's so silly, but it was very relevant to me. That resentment was gone. So I really appreciated that, and it was also teaching me new things, but in relation to being a mum and being a parent. So I was really, really grateful for the insight and the fact that I was drawn to that, because I put it out into the universe that was an intention that I had to shift that resistance and the frustration and resentment. And then that was actually brought into my sphere of knowledge, which was beautiful. And with regards to energy, oh my gosh, I think that me going and having a rest in the middle of the day was not a good idea, because it threw out my circadian rhythm. So basically, I ended up struggling to fall asleep over nighttime and then trying to get up early in the morning. I just feel like my mind goes like crazy. And then on Tuesday night, I stayed up a lot later. And then on Wednesday, I noticed I tried to nap twice during the day and I couldn't nap properly. And now it's Friday. I've now had 2 really proper 8-hour sleep nights. So I'm feeling really, really good. But I do feel like my mind and my thinking is a lot clearer. I'm not craving unhealthy food so much, which is something that I didn't necessarily expect. But at the same time, I'm also kind of the position of, feeling another level of trust on myself. And I know that I can get into habits of emotional eating, but it's usually to comfort and calm myself. So I'm not sure exactly what, the correlation is there. I think it's more the fact that there were insights and I was able to take an action and leaning into the trust of myself. When it comes to releasing energy from past lovers, this was really interesting, because I did have a couple of people reach out to me who were question marks of my past, like not necessarily that I had met with, but who were question marks. And that's like nothing developed with them, but they kind of came back around, if that makes sense. And so I found that really interesting, and I kind of wonder, I think that I have done well to let go of the old energy of the past lovers. So, but these were sort of a little bit more recent, but like within the past couple of years sort of thing. And I also felt a massive pull to make my Instagram private. And I also had a feeling that was something that was going to release a lot of the old energy around my past lovers and that sort of thing. So I literally went through my Instagram and got rid of, I didn't realize how many men who I didn't know, who I did know who I didn't really connect with, were still following me. So I actually got rid of hundreds of followers and stopped following a ton of people on my private Instagram, which felt really good. Like there was no resistance to me doing that, which felt amazing. And I think particularly in modern dating, people keep options around, on the outside of things. And I'm big in the idea of what you want energetically, you start to be that now. So if you want options while you're in a relationship, then keep those options around. If you don't want other options when you're in a relationship, cut them loose. If they're meant to be, it'll all come back to you. So that was really interesting. I'm just kind of reading through some of these things from my journal, which is super dirty because I take it everywhere. Yeah, so I do feel so much more connected to my physical body, to my mind as well. And I've been a lot more just caring of my physical body as well. And ease and flow, opening. Yeah, and reconnecting with myself. Yeah, it's a beautiful process, and I would do it again. There was one lady there in particular who does it once a month or something like that. She has terminal cancer, and she said it's the only thing that kind of makes her feel good. I don't think that I would do it once a month. Super grateful that I've done it. I'd probably lean into when I intuitively feel like I need to do it again, like this particular medicine is calling me again. But there are other ones that I'm interested in that I'm wanting to try out, and I feel like I would probably do that before doing this again. I think I'm just going to allow myself to change my mind if I feel pulled to. Yeah, so this is not supposed to scar. We'll see how that goes. Kind of rad. If it did scar, I actually wouldn't mind because it's kind of cool. I feel like I've gone through some sort of a rite of passage. I know that this video is a little bit longer, and I'm okay with that. And I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, let me know. I'm sending you so much love. I hope that this has helped you in some way. And I hope you have an incredible weekend. Bye.